Good afternoon. I'm so excited. I'm sitting here with a fellow Rippler, not only a Rippler, she is causing a tidal wave through the United States. Yes.
Yeah, baby.
That's what we're doing, is causing tidal waves. And that's why I call it Ripples Rising, empowering voices, creating waves of change. Because one ripple, when it's all united, unifies and causes a tidal wave. And we are looking to do this on September 27th on a Sunday. It's a nationwide walk for ROAR. ROAR stands for Respect, Oversight, Advocacy, and Reform for Long-Term Care. I'm so happy to introduce Susie Singer Carter. We are in Los Angeles, California. This country girl gets out of Arkansas once in a while. And here we are in person. And take it away.
Well, first of all, thank you for, I love being part of the Ripples. And that's what I'm trying to do is cause a ripple effect about the crisis that we have in long-term care that's been going on for way too long. You know it, I know it, but not everybody else knows it. A lot of people don't know how bad that the system is and until you get in the thick of it. So I'm hoping to make the country aware that this is not just a specific locale. It's not this big cities or a one-off or an outlier. This is a systemic problem that's been happening for decades, and we have to stop it.
Yes. I came on Susie's podcast, Love Conquers All's, ALZ, 2 years ago. And so that's how we met. And, she was about nursing home because of what happened to her mother. I was about home care because of what happened to my parents on separate occasions. They were divorced and financially exploited and drugs stolen and stuff. And so we were on the bandwagon, but we were kind of doing this. But then she switched to be more encompassing of long-term care. And so we visited just a couple of months ago, and I said, okay, you've got long-term care. And so it wasn't only about nursing home, or home care. It's the whole gambit, including independent living, assisted living, hospice care, and, as she brought to my attention, like if a sibling has ALS or a disability when they're 25, 35, 40 years old, it's still long-term care. So she has thrown out a broad blanket for long-term care, the whole gambit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about being educated and learning more when, you are in your own bubble and you are, you're dealing with the issues in home care, aging at home, aging in place, or with my situation, and I'm in long-term care with my mom, which was nursing homes. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything else other than nursing homes. But when you realize that long-term care does encompass all types of long-term care, and that the system that is in place now regulates all those systems as well, and then you realize we're all in the same boat. So, whether you're in rehab, whether you're, you're in skilled nursing for a temporary time, which can oftentimes turn into, tremendously horrible things because it's just there's not enough oversight and enforcement of regulations that are in place already. So it does affect all of us. And so that's why we, now our focus is on long-term care, because that is the issue. That's what all of this falls under that. So it's so important, and all of us need to know about it, because it's except for, aside from climate pact issues, this is the only crisis that affects everybody.
Every single person.
I mean, what is equal opportunity?
Every single day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would have been so easier for me just to say, as many of us may have done, after my mom had passed and after my dad passed, like, oh, God, I'm so glad that chapter's over. Let me just go on with my life and forget about it. But I realized there were some gaps, namely what my mission is to get these caregivers to be fingerprinted and background checked. It needs to be a federal law, not state by state. In the state of Arkansas, that they are not required to be fingerprinted, and they Might be background check, but who's overseeing that? I don't know. Do you happen to know the state of California?
I have no idea. It's not, that's not something that I've concentrated on, but I take your word on it because, everything is state by state. And just because you have a regulation in place, like in California, I can tell you that we do have minimum staffing. Our regulations are in place. They are not, adhered to. There's no oversight. There's no enforcement. My mom was at a 5-star facility and they were massively understaffed. And I would tell them, I understand you're understaffed. And they'd look at me straight in the eye and say, we're not understaffed. We're fine, and you're looking at, 3 CNAs running around trying to take care of, 200 people and you're seeing it with your own eyes, but they're telling you that you're wrong. So I started to have to believe in what I was seeing in my intuition, which if you're going through something like this, please do listen to your gut, because your gut is normally right. And at this point, you can do the best you can with the resources that we have, which are, there's a lot, but they don't have teeth, which is why we need to change the system. But you should do something, and you can always reach out to to Jackie or to myself through my websites. We've got resources to help you right now navigate the situation that you're in, because it is a doozy, as they say.
Somebody just told me last week, I didn't know about the Inspector General's office per state. So there's an Inspector General's office that oversees agencies. Mm-hmm. So you can file a complaint with the Inspector General's office about an agency, whether it's a government agency like DHS or maybe a nursing home, to contact maybe the district attorney. I don't know. The district attorney, when this was happening with my dad, and Susie and I are like sisters in partnership in this, because we were the whiny little daughters. We don't have the RN, LPN, CSM or whatever. She's a profession in the industry of music and filming. I'm a professional in my real estate industry. But when your loved one is thrown into the healthcare system, we rely on the professionals to take care of our loved ones. Mm-hmm. We rely on that, and then it's almost in every situation that they are understaffed. Mm-hmm. They're understaffed because they're underpaid. Mm-hmm. And I've got a saying, it's called froth at the top, because all the money is at the top, the administration and higher, and the CNAs are doing all the grunt work. And it's where people are visiting more at the CNAs who are doing the grunt work than the nurses. The nurses are at the nursing station.
Well, in long-term care, you're lucky if you have one registered nurse. You're supposed to have one, 24 hours a day, at least one, and that usually doesn't happen. But just to mention that Roar is an outgrowth of my documentary, which is No Country for Old People. And it's a 3-part series on Amazon Prime and on Tubi. And you will do yourself a favor by watching it, because there's so much information that you need to know, that are over 60 experts who break it down. And I go through my mom's story, which was 6 months of just egregious, gruesome, horrible things that it's unthinkable. And my mom is just one of millions that this happens to, and it's happening right now.
Every day.
And, the thing about making reports, like you were talking about, those kind of reports, first of all, take so long. Chances are your loved one will have passed away by the time they even get to it. And at that point, you're likely to get a response of, we investigated and we found nothing wrong. And that's the problem. We don't have enough agency, and there's a business model behind all of these where people are making a great deal of money on the system. They've learned to gain the system, and so they are happy to keep it that way, status quo. So There are things like lobbies, like, we have lobbies, we have pharmaceutical lobbies, we have the NRA lobbies, we have a nursing home lobby.
Nursing home lobby.
And they have a lot of money and a lot of power, and they sit in our legislature, and they make decisions, and they fund politicians' campaigns. And that's why it's so important to have a grassroots movement where the people use their voices. You use your currency, which is not a bag of money, but it is your constituency, your vote, and your roar. Yes, and yes, we are warriors. Join us, be a warrior with us, because nothing that's ever been important and needed change started at the top. It starts from the bottom up, and it's not a platitude; it's the truth. And there's a book I just read. It's wonderful. I don't get anything out of it. I love Cory Booker, but he wrote a book called Stand, Senator Cory Booker, and he gives so many examples of the grassroots movements throughout our history that have changed so many important things. And and if you want to talk more currently, there's MAD, there's the LGBTQ, there's Black Lives Matter, there's the Me Too movement, and on and on and on. And none of these things would have changed if we didn't start from the bottom up. And there's a saying that's in his book that I'm stealing because he stole it. It's like, the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And that is true, because as a collective, we are powerful. But if we silo ourselves and we think that it's being taken care of, it's not. If you see something happening over and over again and it's not changing, it's bad. And we can't rely on our bills and regulations and policy makers because they're not doing their job.
No.
And listen, this is a tough topic. Nobody wants to talk about getting older. Nobody wants to talk about being vulnerable and being reliant and losing your independence. But it is what it is. This is life, and we have to face it. And it's important. We can have quality life. We pay for our Medicare through our paychecks. We pay for our Medicaid and Medi-Cal. It's not going to the people that have paid for it. It's going to people to profit off of it, and it's really wealth care, not health care.
But she's covered so much topic there. It's the oversight, and there's no oversight. What is important is that when Susie was doing her No Country for Old People, she was documenting. They really didn't understand that she was doing a lot of filming throughout the process. My process of doing my book was I was documenting a lot. I'm in real estate, I do contract law, I do contracts, and I was documenting a lot of information. My dad's chapter is 30 pages, it could have been 300 pages. Who wants to read all that? Mm-hmm. But, whatever situation you find yourself going into and you're not sure about it, I think the best thing is to start documenting for your own service and own purpose, because you don't know if you will need that information later. Mm-hmm. And that helped you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it helped me in many ways, because it also helps just to understand, what was happening. It gives you a deeper understanding, and knowledge is power. If you want to see your loved one's records, ask for them. You have a right. If you are their guardian, or if they are of sound mind, ask them to ask for them and request them, and make sure you get them, and make sure that they are complete, not just partial. And it's important to take a look at them and see what they're documenting. See if your loved one is getting hydrated and getting rehab. If they're supposed to get rehab, that's so important. When you're older, and you don't get rehab that you need, you lose it. You lose it. If you need to rehabilitate your legs, if they don't do it, you're not going to walk again. Ever. You may not swallow again. You may have had to have intubation, and then they don't give you rehab, and now suddenly you don't swallow very well, and they're worried. And so to mitigate their own risk and their liability, they'll put your loved one, like they did my mom, on NPO, which is nothing by mouth. That is not a way to live. That is not quality living. Nobody wants to go without eating for the rest of their life. These are things that we don't think about, but these are the things that make life worth living. Otherwise, it's just you're in purgatory, really.
Let's delve a little bit about the feeding tube, because you talked about that earlier, and that they had her mother on a feeding tube instead of her eating, that she couldn't swallow. Yes, she could swallow. I've known women that's been put in a nursing home that just had a catheter because they didn't want to take her to the bathroom, and the catheter would cause a UTI. The feeding tube causes infections. So dwell a little bit on that.
Yeah, well, you're naming it. You're going down the list for, with my mom, she went into the hospital for a pressure sore, that's a whole nother topic. Pressure sores are very prevalent in long-term care, even in home care, not from the family so much, but from the lack of, watch or alerting the home caregivers and how to avoid these. They're very avoidable. When they happen, they are the hallmark of neglect. And my mom went into the hospital with a stage 4. That's the final stage. It is horrible. If you've never seen one, and I didn't even know what one was.
No.
When they say bed sore, I thought, oh, you've been lying on your leg too long and ow, it hurts, No, this is awful. And it is the cause of, so many things, sepsis and pneumonia and things that when you're older are hard to beat. They are a death sentence, right? And my mom came out of the hospital. I asked the doctor, is she dying? He said, why are you being so dramatic? No, she's gonna be okay. She just needs, to rehabilitate now. Well, they kept the feeding tube in. They kept a catheter in. They had, and they had her by nothing by mouth. Well, that's easier for them.
See?
That's easier. And I kept saying, she can swallow, watch her. And actually, doing my research, I discovered that feeding tubes cause aspiration, which is choking on your own either saliva, water, food, whatever. That causes more that kind of thing called aspiration than eating. We all aspirate. We all do. We all take a drink. That's an aspiration.
Yeah.
And so what? If you have a natural response to, unless you are having a stroke and you actually cannot use the muscles, that's a different story. But you can be rehabilitated. My mom was intubated, which was why if she had any issues in the beginning, it was because they had just extubated her, which means taking the tube out. You or me would have the same issue.
Yeah.
Because it's a very difficult process. Intubation is no joke. No. They did it to her twice within one month, because they intubated her and then extubated her and then intubated her and extubated her. That's so rough on anybody's body.
Yes.
So, these are the things they do, but it's because the business model, and I won't get into all of it. You watch the documentary, but it is based on, understaffing, keeping their bottom line low so they can make more profit. And staffing is your most expensive item.
It is.
So they always keep it understaffed, always.
Yes, they do.
And
most important.
And the most important, right? So how do they deal with that within their own organization? They try to, lower their amount of resources that they're putting out, which means their staff. So if a staff member doesn't have to help somebody, here's your drink of water or here's your lunch, then it's, of course, they're saving time and they're saving money. So it's all about that. And then there's the whole push into hospice, and they do that too because they get paid more from Medicare, and they have to put in less resources because they're keeping them comfortable, which means drugs.
Only about 2 weeks ago, one of my friends, her father, 94-year-old father's in a nursing home, and she said, well, the nursing home called me that they're going to put him under comfort care. I'm like, oh. Well, that's a new term. I mean, it used to be called hospice care. Now we call it comfort care.
Well, comfort care, okay, I know the difference about this because this is what happened in the emergency. When I was telling you the story, they had called me to tell me my mom had failure to thrive. And just the day before, she was totally fine. And I was like, wait, so we suggest you put her on comfort care. We got that. And I thought, what does that mean? Well, that means we're going to give her a lot of drugs and keep her comfortable. And there was nothing comfortable about it. First of all, she did not have failure to thrive. She lived another 5 months.
They were looking to put her down.
Yeah.
And she lived another 5 months. She would have lived a lot longer if she'd had the proper care in the first place.
100%. I couldn't get them to provide the wound care that the doctors from the hospital, had ordered. They wouldn't do it. So, the point is that giving people drugs is a very easy way to keep them, without there's zero responsibility. Yeah. But you're keeping them comfortable. But honestly, unless you are close to the end and you are going through pain, and then of course it's valid, and you need those kinds of, you need that help. You need that help to transition in a very in a dignified way and in a pain-free way. But when someone's not in pain and they're not ready to die, there's nothing comfortable about being drugged out of your mind.
Being drugged out of your mind.
And laying in bed and staring at a wall sideways for day after day after day after day after day with nothing to eat. And they'll tell you, don't worry, they're not ready. Their bodies don't want to eat. And they'll give you all those things that, are true in some cases. But when someone's not ready to die, it's not true. It's the opposite. It's torture.
Yes.
It is torture.
We've got a few minutes left. Tell us more about the ROAR project.
Yes. So
there's a solution. There are solutions.
There's so many solutions that are already out there. There's so many organizations that have been working decades to create and have tried to propose these into policy. And the ones that happen to get passed don't get enforced or the regulations are kind of performative, right? They're just performative. And it makes us as a collective go, well, they've got a bill, there's minimum staffing, everything must be good. Okay, let's go to the beach, right? So, which is normal. You should feel that way. You should feel that our system, that our society is taking care of each other, but it's not. So, but if you don't know, how can you change anything? And I didn't know, you didn't know, Jackie. So we're pretty curious women. So how did we not know all this was going on? Because we've compartmentalized it as a collective, as human beings, because it's easier not to think about that stage of life. But you have to, and you will be forced into it at some point, right? So I want to tell everybody, I want to tell the public that this is happening. This is, if you're going through it, this is why it's happening. If you haven't gone through it, it will happen.
It will.
Unless you are incredibly wealthy and you can afford, 24/7 care with, 3 people at all times. That's right. You're not going to be able to navigate this system.
No.
So I want everybody to get together across this nation like we've always done, people power, and demand change. But in order to do that, we need to educate everybody. We need, what we're doing right now, we're telling you this and with all our hearts, and it's not for anything more than just paying it forward, hoping for change, and knowing that this really is the solution. This, what is the solution? All of these organizations, the National Consumer Voice, California Attorneys for Nursing Home Reform, the Elder League, and there's on and on and on. They've all done their research by the most massively intelligent experts, who we've interviewed in our documentary, who will tell you what is necessary to make this a humane process, a humane experience, a humane journey, and that everyone deserves. So it's all there. And let me just go back 1 second. In 1987, they prepared a reform act, a nursing home reform act that was really well researched, really well identified and written. It passed, and nothing happened with it.
No enforcement.
No enforcement. So the laws are there, the regulations are there. Our Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, CMS, they're not doing their job. They're sending out money when people bill on things, and there's no transparency. Where is the money going? And yet they're saying there's not enough money to staff. There is enough money to staff. There's not enough money to staff because people are taking more profit than they deserve.
Froth at the top.
Yeah. People should make money, don't get me wrong, but they don't have to make an exorbitant amount of money.
Oh, and I think that's part of it, Susie, is because I remember my mom taking care of our great aunt and uncle, an hour and a half away. There was nursing homes, but now you have all these independent living places and assisted living places and all these wonderful, beautiful places because there's more of a demand for that. The seniors are sizing down, consolidating, and then looking to retire into these villages or whatever. But it's a money-making deal. It's all a money-making deal. Every level of this is a money-making deal. And as Susie's saying it's people over profit, not profit over people.
No, opposite. Oh, what we want is people over profit.
We want people over profit.
Yeah.
I think I said that.
No, because but sometimes it gets. I've made the mistake where I say it's profit over people, but it's not. It's people over. We want people over profit.
We want people over profit.
Yeah. and it's and people. And again, I just want to say I'm not trying to devalue what I think that our frontline providers whose heart and soul are into this.
Yes.
They are just as abused as the residents because they're the ones that are there and have stayed in it because it's really difficult to stay in it.
And they care.
They care. When they go home with what's called moral injury, the suicide rate for doctors and nurses and CNAs is sky high. It's devastating to go home and think, oh my God, my resident that I love so much is sitting there with no water and facing a wall with no lights and nothing's on. I mean, I would go into my mom's 5-star facility here in Los Angeles and they'd call me before and say, oh, we just saw your mom. She's comfortable. She looks great. She's happy. I walk in and she's in a dark room on her side facing a wall. That is not life. That's what you do to prisoners who are, horrible people, and you put them in solitary confinement. That is not living. And I think during COVID, I just want to bring this up. During COVID is really when the curtains got pulled back because we saw how understaffed all of these facilities were because as the staff that was hired were getting quarantined every single day, I would get a call, and I'm not unique. This is across the country. 17 staff members, tested positive for COVID and are quarantining for 2 weeks. Who's taking care of my mom? Nobody. As a result, 200,000 residents died the first year of COVID. Not from COVID, not from comorbidities, from isolation, failure to thrive.
Yes.
That's a big number, 200,000. That's more than we lost in Vietnam War. I mean, this is a massive number and no one talks about it. No. And it gets sort of justified by, well, they were old. But this is before their time. And they died alone, which is inhumane.
Inhumane. And it's just, there's got to be change. There's got to be change, and that's what Susie is starting, the Roar for Long-Term Care. It's ROAR, 4, LTC.org. It is a 501c3. You can go to the website. You can make donations on there.
You can make donations that will go towards our walk and help. Right now we've got 25 states. I would love to have 50 because that is a statement that tells our structure, our infrastructure that, okay, this is a national problem, and it is.
It's a national problem.
It is. So go to our website and see the map. If your state isn't represented, think about someone who might be able to form a walk there. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's a group of people. Maybe it's your book club. Maybe it's your synagogue, your church, whatever it is. Get your peeps together, and it doesn't have to be. It's not difficult, and it doesn't have to be a lot of people because every walk counts. If it's 10 people or 10,000 people, it matters.
Yes.
It sends a message. And it sends a message to your neighbors. It sends a message to other people that didn't know. They'll say, what is this about? and you'll start a conversation. That's what we need. We need the ripple. And so that's why it's so important. That's why 5 people holding a sign will make a difference. So if you think you don't have agency, you do.
You do. Every voice, every person counts. We're creating a ripple. And like Susie said, we've got 25 states. I'm in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah.
I am organizing a walk in Fayetteville, that's Washington County. I would love to have one in Benton County and one in Pulaski County, where Little Rock is our capital. So, but hey, I've never done this before, and Susie's not ever done this before.
Nope.
But if we get, if I end up with 25 people in Fayetteville,
That's awesome.
I'll be happy.
That's awesome. We will wear our shirts. We'll represent,
Exactly.
and it will send a message.
Yes.
That is for sure. That is for sure. And your neighbors will hear about it and see it. People everywhere will start questioning, what is this about? You're just getting it out there in the public, and that's what's important right now, so that we can alert people and then use our constituency. Like I said, it comes down to us. We have the power of vote still, so we can do that. And if you want to join a walk and see if there is a walk already existing in your state, you can also go to the website and find out. And if it is, sign up. You can sign up to volunteer, and if you can't walk, that's fine too. You could sign up to volunteer there's a list there that tells you what kind of needs we need. Maybe you know someone in the press, maybe you know how to use your computer, and you can, send emails and send it out, be blasted out there for us. Or maybe you have some friends that you can call. You can make 3 calls and say, hey, can you walk? Can you, it just, as much help as we can get, or in as little or as much as you can give, we'll take it.
We'll take all of it, including, I dare ad lib, I'm calling it walkers and wheelchairs.
Yeah.
My husband's got a wheelchair that's lithium battery motorized, and I expect him to be out there in his wheelchair to zoom along.
Heck yeah.
And even if there's just a person that can push your wheelchair. If you want to get involved and you can't walk, find a wheelchair, maybe find a person, we're saying a walk. It might be a block, it might be,
right.
I'm going to try mine around a square.
Or just stay in place at the location. My location in Los Angeles, we are at the Beverly Garden Park, where it says Beverly Hills, because it's very iconic. And we're gonna just stay in this area and do a lot of talking and speeches and sharing stories, because it's so beautiful. There's no reason to, go into a pathway, and it's very visible. And so we're right there on Santa Monica Boulevard. So if you're in Los Angeles, you happen to be listening, come on down to our walk. You don't have to walk. You're gonna hang out with some great people and have conversation and commiserate, learn some things, and have some fun, because there are probably going to be some celebs there, because I'm going to push it, man. I had Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, who endorsed our documentary, Lisa Gibbons, and a lot more people. So we'll see who will show up. Surprise, surprise, and it'll be, we're going to have fun, because we're a bunch of people that care.
Yes, we care, and it's just. We're doing this because of what happened to our parents, but we're also doing it for us, because who's going to look after Susie or us later, you later?
Yeah.
I have a question. What's your exit plan?
Yeah.
What's your exit plan when you're, 85 years old, 80, 90, whatever? Are you going to be where you are 10 or 15 years from now? How's that going to look? And that's something that we don't want to think about, but we plan for college, plan for school, plan for a trip, plan for a house, we got to have an exit plan on how to get out of here too.
There's a movie called This Is 40. It's Judd Apatow's movie. That's it's hilarious. It's the wife's 40th birthday, and her mother-in-law comes up and she says, "Honey, you look amazing. Your 40 is nothing. Trust me." She goes, "Really?" She goes, "Honey, listen to me. Blink and you're 90. And that's so true. Blink and you're 90. Before you know it, I can't believe I have 2 little grandchildren. It's like, what? How did this happen?
She's a grandmother.
It's like, you blink and life goes. So, but for the grace of God, here we are. We're sitting here now, so we're using all the resources we have, and to just share this with you. And it's really just an act of love, and love is powerful, and love really does move mountains, and it makes change. And when you see a loved one suffering, it's devastating. It's so painful, and many people, I understand it, they have PTSD. They can't even, they'll say, Susie, I want to walk with you, but I still can't get over it. I have nightmares. And this is, I don't want anyone else to have nightmares like that.
No.
It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary.
Unnecessary. There's resources, there's people that want to work. They need to get paid more.
They need to get paid. They need to be treated with respect.
I've got a saying, raise the bar on caregiving will raise the bar on the quality of care.
That's true.
So what's the best way to get a hold of you if they want to be part of the Roar Walk, Susie?
Yeah, go to roar4ltc.org. You can sign up there, or you can follow me on any of the socials, Susie Singer Carter, or the Roar4LTC. Not .org, just Roar for LTC. This is on the social medias, and No Country for Old People. So we're all intertwined, and I will answer you. Like, people say, "Wait, is this Susie?" When they message me, and I say, "Yes, it is."
It's a real
Susie.
I
don't sleep. I'm like, "Oh, hi, you messaged me. Thank you." Yeah, so you'll find us, and we will, or reach out to Jackie. She's incredible. She's like the little Energizer bunny. She doesn't stop. So and we've got so many volunteers already. So if you imagine we have 25 walks already, think about all the people that are attached to that.
Oh.
So join us for yourself and for everybody else, and you're gonna feel so good about it. Yeah,
we got to make a difference. We've got to make a change. I'm in Northwest Arkansas. I'm just an hour away from Oklahoma, Missouri. I love Texas. If there's any people in Texas, I can coach and help you there.
Yeah, we have 2 walks in Texas. We have one in San Antonio and also in Austin.
Okay.
But we need more because Texas is a big state.
Need El Paso, need Dallas, Harlingen, Edinburgh. I mean, just even some little town. It doesn't have to be a big city even.
No, just get on your street corner. Go on your freeway pass. You've seen that, where people are holding signs. Those are very effective.
Yes.
They're effective because they bring attention. We want press attention. We want people to say, what's this all about? Why is everyone talking about long-term care? Because no one talks about it. Let's let them talk about it. Let's force them to talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah?
Great.
Okay.
All right.
We're
going to do it.
Okay. I thank you so much. Love you.
Love you. Ripples, baby. We're going to make a tidal wave. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.